It's another episode of the 1974 C suffix Range Rover, the two-door one I've been painting in my workshop. Well, I'm still painting it. Anyway, enjoy the video. It's more kind of my experience is rambling along rather than an instructional video on how you paint a Range Rover. But I think one thing you might get the message: don't underestimate this job. It's a lot of car to paint. Anyway, enjoy it. Popped a top coat onto the wing here. Another coat on that. I reckon that'll be more or less ready. There'll be about 5 coats of paint on that by the time I've done that. And then we can mount it on the car. Right, I need to finish off polishing the door down here. It's not bad, but now it's in the light. It needs to be better. Rear wing's done. It won't take long. I'll put a bit of probably wet 2000 paper over that and then polish it with a mop. Coat of primer. So I've done front wing, back wing, both on the left hand side. I've done all the wing supports. I've done the rear light cluster for the left hand side. I need a tiny bit more work around the filler around this area. That's where that hole was welded up. Otherwise, that's more or less good. Trailing edge of this wing, it is absolutely full of pot marks. So you can't really tell this until you get a solid colour onto it, single colour onto it. So that's going to be a complete skim of filler over there. This over here, there's some light on it, is absolutely all over the place. There's a big dent here. You can see the original holes there that there were factory holes that were drilled there for the bracket for the corner bumper. And it's almost like the panel's been pulled this way. You can see how it's all rippled all the way up here and then going all the way down into here. So now it's all one colour. I can see what's going on there. Back wing is actually a huge amount better. So back wing is a doozy. That can more or less, tomorrow I'll flat that back, I'll put a top coat on that, I'll put a top coat on the rear corner bumper after a tiny skim of filler, and that'll be the rear wing done for this car. The front wing I put in top coat this morning using my new DeVille Bis. I'll go through the gun in a second. Oh, that's a load of fucking dust. Fortunately, it's dried. On the whole, the paint's got it really nice. Quite pleased with that. That looks good. Trouble is, Wayne's moving the bloody forklift around. There's dust all over the place. Not your fault, Wayne, if you're watching. But overall, that will coat with a polish. I'm happy with that. That can go back on the car tomorrow morning. I've got all the brackets and everything all painted for this side already. So that's really been my afternoon. And what are we now? 20 past 3, and I'm trying to sort out my boy's car as well, for God's sake. My challenge for today is to get this door ready for primer. Stripped all the hinges and everything down. As you can see, I've got some challenges with some paint lifting. Whatever paint was on there hasn't adhered properly. Now I've been over it with the zip wheel around the edges, and this seems to be the approach I'm going to take. So all of this paint around here, you can see here, it's all just flaking off. So I think realistically, we just need to take all the paint off this. I'm going to do it with the zip wheel. It's a bit brutal, but it'll do the job. And then I can treat the rust on the door frame. And once that's done, then I can filler prime it. I don't think there's an awful lot really I can save here, because you see it's lifting here. Lifted there. So whatever happened with the paint on this, I don't think much primer went down underneath it, or it didn't stick to the metal properly. Never mind. Just needs a little bit more time in the prep. We can do that. Looking at these 2 hinges that come off the car, and this one in particular, let me position you so you can actually see what's going on. There we go. This one is seized solid. That ain't going nowhere. So the pin in there is seized, and also it's got play in it. So that, I couldn't tell you whether it's the top or the bottom hinge, and this one is tight, but also I can see where rust is coming through on the pin. So this one probably is serviceable. That one I could probably get moving again with lube, but as I've got 2 completely brand new hinges, they're going on instead. Make sense? This is turning into a bunch of fun. So, all the paint along here had actually adhered really, really, really well. All of the paint up here came off in sheets, and you can see there's rust underneath. I don't know if you can see. There's rust underneath where the paint was. All round here, where it's really, really, really shiny, the paint is stuck like shit to a blanket. And here, where the paint was down to there, you can see the rust was creeping up behind it, all the way along here. And I suspect we're going to find the same thing here. So, it's going back to bare metal. I'll treat the rust, and we've caught this door, I reckon. All up here as well, so when it comes off, it's just surface rust underneath it. Now, they're not renowned for rusting in this location, so I don't need to put too much attention into this, but I do want these outer faces, and very much like I did on the other door, these outer faces in good shape. But it's a very, very, very noisy and messy business. I'm using the zip wheel around the edges and the underside. I use the prep wheel on the surface here because I don't want to be gouging the steel too much, but again, you can see all the spot weld marks are all coming through. Now, on an early car like this, they probably wouldn't have bothered. I don't think they did bother with sorting those spot weld marks out. And you probably can't see on this, but I didn't do anything with them on this door. Single finger. Right, let's get on with this noisy bastard job. Sun's out. Right, okay, I finished the inside part of the door, and now I'm going to start working on the skin. Now, you don't want to be going anywhere near any of this with a zip wheel. This Burma Bright or aluminium on the door skin. I suspect this was aluminium because I think this is a more recent door, but Burma Bright I think was used up until about 1980 or something like that. I think this is probably a new door that went onto the car when it had its CSK overhaul. But anyway, you put any heat near this, it's very, very, very soft. So realistically, you kind of don't want to be using a machine on it, but I am going to use a sanding disc. So I still haven't fixed my variable speed sanding disc, so I'm using this kind of dirt cheap step in. This is a Black & Decker single speed orbital sander. But I'll start off with something like, well, we'll see. I think on the top section here, I might just get away with a 120 before I put a primer over the top of it. We'll see how loose it gets. This door doesn't appear to be anywhere near as bad on the outside as the other door did, as the driver's door did. All of this down here is not bubbling up. It had done on the driver's door, which meant then that I had to remove all of the black paint and whatever was loose on the other paint. So we'll go over this. Down here we've got the remains of the rubbing strip, which is not going to go back on. And right at the very bottom here we've got some paint which is just lifted up. So what I might do is actually start down here. We'll start with the worst bit. Might end up having to strip the door up to the swage line. We'll see. I don't want to put the prep wheel on it because it's too hot. I mean, to be honest, it's too hot already out in the sunshine. It's warming up, so I use the sanding disc. I'll see where I go with something like a 60 or an 80 grip down here, and then moving up into the door. That may then change to something a little bit more gentle on the paint. Now, there was a dent around here somewhere. I could have sworn I saw a dent on it. It's that trying to find the bloody dent thing again, isn't it? Anyway, we are where we are. So, yes, headphones are on, music's on. Boring, but out in the glorious sunshine. Not complaining about that. Right, this bottom edge down here, not surprisingly, is going to need a skim of filler. Here, I've left it as it is. So you can see the filler primer that went over that originally. You can see how it's just lifting off. It's not adhered to the aluminium at all. Another example up here, as I'm going over it, as I'm starting to go through this yellow primer coat, you can see it's just coming off in lumps. A couple of huge dents here and a monstrous piece of filler around here, which I'm not going to go into too deeply because there's no point in taking all the filler out to refill it again. So yeah, it's just a case now, I think, of certainly on this bottom edge here, I'm going to have to take all of this off. If I go on to this corner here, so we've got a 60 grit disc. see the primer coat underneath is coming off, and that's as rough as a badger's arse. So it's quite likely the majority of that primer has actually adhered. As it's going to need a skim of very fine filler along the bottom edge here, I don't know, that could well be filler that's going all the way up here. I've got to find out. There's a whole great dent in this door. Shouldn't be filler down there. I'll see if I can just selectively take off this piece of black paint here, and then see what's going on underneath the filler primer underneath that. Right, if we go at that angle, you can see all the matte areas. That's where all the filler is on this panel. There's a few low points. The rest of this is filler, which I'm not going to disturb. It's lifted there, bollocks. I'm going to disturb that bit up there. Where it's not lifted, I'm going to work with it. The rest of the panel is actually not too bad. There's a few imperfections there. It's almost like the filler wasn't mixed properly, so the soft fillers come out. The rest of it isn't too bad. Right, so I'm going to move now from a 60 grit to a 120 grit and see what happens on this section up here. This is just dusty at the moment, so I'm going to go over that centre section with the 120 and we'll see what happens. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 discs to do that. I wasn't putting any real weight into it. There's an imperfection there. Or did I just feel that? No, I didn't feel that. I think it's just the mixture between the friction and the smoothness gave me an impression there's a big dent there. I don't think there is. That's the dent I was looking for earlier on. And there's another one down here. So I'll fill those two. Right, okay, onwards. Right, don't get confused, I've turned the door round. So, top edge of the door's here. The problem I've got with this, see how flexible that is? Can you see that bouncing up and down? So that's where you really don't want to be leaning on this panel in any way whatsoever as you're sanding it back. And this middle section is definitely the one that's most likely to cause you difficulties. So what I'm going to do is I have flashed that. I'm pretty happy with it. I've gone all around the edges, nothing's lifting. I'm going to prime that, and then when it's all one colour we'll be able to see whether there's any minor imperfections. And if there are minor imperfections, I'm more inclined to use the really really lightweight filler. So I use this stuff here. It's minor surface imperfections. You're not going to put that on much more than about 0.5 millimetre, but it will do for any minor imperfections. So now, having done the very tough bottom piece, the very weak and fragile middle piece, you put that in the middle there. See what I mean? So very careful. The top edge here is actually probably the strongest. It's because of the way it's fixed on, because of the way it's riveted at the top, because of this big rib here, it is actually quite strong. But I'm confident I'll get away with just doing a 120 over this. We'll see if it comes up like that. So I'm not going to take the paint off unless I have to. So I had to take the paint off on the frame because most of it had lifted. And I had to take the paint off the bottom edge here because most of it had lifted. But as I move up the door, it's getting better. And it's getting hotter. So we're about 25 today, which is beautiful. Not complaining about the weather. And I'm listening to Chris Harris as well. A podcast about worst ever Porsche. Great fun. Inside a door shell is painted. There's little bits of it I'm not happy with though. So the prep down there I wasn't very happy with. The rest of the kind of the overall what was going on with the paint I'm happy with. I've hung it back on again. There's no catch in there at the moment, so it's going to be sitting a little bit on the low side. That's not a problem. I want it to rise up onto the striker pin anyway. We might just need one more shim at the front end there, but I'm now going to get this into primer. It's easier to paint it on the car than off the car. I'll just mask everything up, it's not a problem. I just put a sheet over the top and we're fine. I did end up taking all this paint off the top here. So although I thought I was going to leave it there, it was just coming off so nicely and there was such a nice surface underneath it. I thought, to hell with it. Obviously all that down there I've left. That's all good. Inside painted nicely apart from that bit there. And unfortunately that bit there is going to be really noticeable. It's going to be really evident. As soon as you open the door, it's going to draw my eye to it. The rest of it though, I'm quite pleased with it. It's dusty at the moment, but yeah, I'm quite pleased with the way it's turned out. And then I want to put the catch back in, but, big buts, when the customer sent the catch to me, he didn't include the rod for the internal release mechanism. So I found one in my stash. But really, when this catch goes in, you don't want to have to come back out again. That's the main reason for me wanting to put this rod on it. Now the clip there is supposed to hold it all in place, but that's messing me around as well at the moment. Anyway, we are where we are with it. On the front wing, literally just got the very last skim of filler over that hole there. The rest of this I'm pretty happy with. I can put that in primer stay along with the outside edge of the door. And then tailgate, I think. Start working with this. I'm going to need to do some work, but not a huge amount of work on the tailgate. Take the top section off and really just clean everything, get it painted. I don't know if the customer's going to put carpet on the inside. Obviously it's got the later top piece, which the carpet board would go into. So I'll paint the inside of it anyway. Usual challenges, nothing particularly nasty. I'm going to, once this comes out, you can get to the rods and get these out fairly easily. That's not too much of a problem. So it's easy enough to strip down. Get that in paint. Obviously we lose the lettering, but it's not a huge amount I can really do about that. I'm not going to paint around the lettering. Yes, and then we'll have everything apart from the roof, the bonnet and the deck panel painted. I need to talk to the customer about those bits. Oh no, that's a bit crappy, isn't it? What's happened there? Didn't notice that before. Anyway, it's torn there as well. It's not unusual for these bits to be torn all the way along. Right, onwards and bloody well upwards. Finally managed to get some top coat on the door. I've got some concerns with it, I'll be honest. You can see, and it might just polish out, but you can see some lines across the door. You might not be able to, but I can. Now, the key thing with these is the top section along here. That's the bit that you notice the most. Then you've got the scallop, and then you've got the bit that points down towards the ground. The bit that points down towards the ground doesn't need to be anywhere near as beautiful as the bit right at the top. And the bit in the middle needs to be in the middle. It is okay. I painted that defect on the shut face. I've repainted the shut face while I was here. Yeah, this is all kind of okay. I'll see what it comes up like with the polish. We'll see. It can't be any worse. Right, and then I did the front wing while I was at it. So I painted the front wing outside. And again, it's one of those things. I'm painting outside, so there's little specks on it, but they'll polish out. I might need to paint it again. The challenges I've got is a fucking great dent there, which I noticed. I don't know if you can see that. And also, where I put the filler on down here, there's a gouge runs down here. Now it might just polish out. I have literally just thrown the paint onto this panel, so I wanted to get some paint onto it, and I had a little bit left in the gun, so I lobbed a coat of paint onto that, not worrying too much about kind of the finish out of the gun. I've painted the inside face as well, and I've done the arch, so this can be mounted on the car, and then when I'm ready to give it its final top coat, will be there. But again, this piece down here, we might not actually notice defects unless it's up on a 4-post ramp 6 foot up in the air. So it might be that we can get away with that. We'll see. Tailgate is never fun. All these ribs, you never quite know how good it's going to get. There's spot welds all over the place. These later style tailgates, especially with the internal opening handle, I know it's not correct for this age of car, it is what it is. These later tailgates, the inside was designed to be covered with carpet, and the customer wants this in a finished paint, which I don't blame him about, to be honest. I think it looks much nicer, a little bit like when you look in the back of Diana. Finished paint, can you see that? Paint finish, nice. Anyway, so what I've been doing really is going over it. Started off with the machine sander, going over the high points, then finish the lower points with the with hand sanding. I need to do these little bits, infills in here on the top edge, and I'm going to prime this and see what it looks like. If I prime it very, very, very thin, it should kind of... The idea is, with the inside, I don't particularly want to be getting the polisher onto it. So the better it comes out the gun, the better. So for instance, that come out of the gun, and that'll do for the inside of the tailgate. To be honest, it's not that far off doing for the front wing. And the other door on the other side, this door I've started to flat back with 2000 grit, so I can't show you that. But this door was pretty much out of the gun too. When you get really, really, really close to it, you can see it's kind of a little bit orange peely. It needs a polish, but for the inside of the tailgate, it will be perfect. So that's the plan. Primer on this tomorrow, once I've done these edge bits here. But we're currently Friday, and we're currently 6:15, and it is definitely 6:45 gin. Yes, it's had quite a lot of work done to it. This is a very original tailgate. I mean, by no means is it a complete write-off, but the bottom edge, I don't know if you can see down there, is quite crinkly. And when I reverse the tailgate, if I tip this over, we can see I got some challenges here. I think all I can really do with this is take, because this is just 2mm thick of filler here. Huge amount of filler. It hasn't rotted along this top edge here, but whether this justifies a new skin, this is just wobbly as hell all the way along here, like it's just absolutely full of filler. So I'm going to take the paint off on this side and see where we go to with it. It's quite common for rust to appear along this seam here. It's even more common for these to be just non-existent, but they're there still. So I think we'll see what it looks like once the paint is off. I don't know who R&M Performance is. Nice green badge there, that can come off. But yes, tailgate, fun and games. And we are in primer. So along the bottom edge here, once it was all cleaned back, I used a rust converter, rust treatment on it. A little bit unhappy about that, missed those bits under there, but they're both hidden. I'll clean those back and just use a rattle can just to tidy those areas up. I've got the primer on it. This end, there's actually not too many issues on it. It's the primer's gone on and it actually looks quite effective. There's a little bit of blistering down there. As far as this bottom edge is concerned, I'm not going to do anything with it other than put a top coat on it, then a wax. I think if I was to start messing around with filler down there, it's going to accelerate whatever rust is going to come through. Similarly, all of this shit down here, most of it's hidden. I might see if I can just put a little bit of filler into some of these indentations on the underside here. There should be big rubber chunks going here and here. The rest of it, well, it's not bad actually. There's a few areas where scratches in the paint and so forth. This is the worst bit up here. It's all going to need filler up here. So I think what I'll do is the tiniest skim of filler over the edges, but without filling in the joins. You can see along there as well, bits like that. I want to get that looking tidier than that. Now the other side, I've taken all the paint off the other side and it's nowhere near as bad as I thought it would be. There is corrosion along the bottom edge. Very, very, very light corrosion, apart from one area. That was the area that had all the filler. So again, I've put rust converter on that, and I think that'll be all right. It's a Range Rover tailgate. They all rust sooner or later, and this one's had a head start. So all I can really do is, having treated the rust, let's hope it stays off for a while. The problem is, and if you've ever seen me take one of these things apart, take the skin off one of these, they never painted any of these shut faces. Which is why once it's all back together again, I'm going to get in there and see if I can't get as much wax into this joint along here as I possibly can. But I need to paint the inside and out before I do that, because I think the wax might have some silicone stuff in it. I just don't need that on it, not when they're putting paint on. Right, so that is in a better shape. Naughty disco. There'll be a video about that, I'm sure. And then really at the back end here, not an awful lot more I can do. Now the other thing I have been doing is I've started just tidying the roof up, ready for a coat of primer up here, which I might do tomorrow. So the trick is, with the roof, I mean the car's a little bit higher than it would be normally, but you can't see right across the roof. So even me at 6'3", I can see to about here, to that sort of line. So you can see the outer third of the roof on each side. Not proposing that, you know, we don't paint the centre third of the roof. I'm just saying that the main preparation, the main work on this needs to be on the middle of the centre rib there outwards. This bit especially needs to be as good as we can get it. And the roof, so far the roof looks really good. Now I did put a couple of chunks of filler in a couple of locations. There's an edge of filler there, look at that. That might need to do, I might need to do something with that. That's not a crack, that's just the edge of the filler. I've not done this side yet, I've been working on the other side. Oh dear, nice sunny day today, and it is 4:20 on a Saturday. Working on a Saturday, Richard, I know, but I do love it. It is fun. Here's the other side of it. So I've treated the rust along the bottom edge. That was the chunk with the heavy pitting that I showed you already. The problem is, if I was to weld in another piece over the top of that, oh sorry, cut that out and then weld a piece in, I think it might do more damage than good. The rest of the tailgate, so up here, there's some quite significant pitting. This is where they normally go. So I think what we do is our best with it. I don't think this has got much more than a couple of years of life left in it. So I don't want to go berserk with it, but I do want it to be half decent. All of these black circles here are low points, which need to be treated with filler. They're not horrendous. It is on the whole quite a good bottom tailgate, but certainly a lot better than the bottom tailgate that I've got on my car. It's a quick distraction. That's what it'll end up like. I've got another one, I've got a new old stock one of these to go on this. Let's get rid of all these projects out of my yard, get the workflow back under control, and I can put time back into my stuff. Right, so I'm going to concentrate on the inner face today, finish off the prep on that, get it ready for a top coat, hopefully later on today. I'll do it. So happy enough with that. You can see I had to put some filler up here, but not so much as it disguises the panel. I can't really do an awful lot down here without spending a week on it, and I just don't see the point in that. But I think overall I'm pretty pleased. Right, pretty cheesed. No, I'm pretty pleased with the way that's come out. So I'll let that paint go off, I'll flip it over, and I should do the other side tomorrow. Right, on the important side now, so skim a filler over this area here. It is just surface rust, there's no holes. I've treated both sides of it. I can't do any more than that really, without replacing big chunks of metal, and by the time I do that, and then the warp that you might get in there, we're better off probably dealing with it the way it is at the moment. Now all of this grey stuff you can see here is filler, tons of it. I'm not going through it, I'm going to leave it as it is. I'm just going to skim over the top. So where that was, because the danger is, I'm up here and I'm finding the filler up here. So heaven knows what's going on with this panel. I think the trick here for me is going to be to get this thing looking reasonably tidy and put a coat of paint on it. I don't know if you agree with that or not. No, you heretic, you'll all be screaming your screams. Replace the skin on the tailgate. I know. Right, so skin joins here. So you end up with the lower section and the top section. Top section is certainly savable. Lower section, I think, just apart from that bit there, I'm inclined to paint this, get it done, see how many years it lasts, and then perhaps deal with that rust further down the line. This isn't a full-blown restoration, this is a paint job. Let's see if we can't get this thing looking half decent, I reckon. Right, and it's a magnificent day today. Lots of tartan in the sky. Crisscross, crisscross, crisscross. Right. Filler, I'm probably going to go with the heavy duty filler to start off with, and I'll go full. Once it's in place, then I'll use the very fine stuff over the top of that. Bit polishing. So I'm using a G3 cutting compound and my orbital polisher. I'm happy with most of it. I'm just not happy with this top section up here. So I'm going to flat this back using 600 grit and paint this top edge, feather it into here, just down to the swage line, down to here. I'll knock a bit of paint on that tomorrow. That should be good. You can see the difference as I run along here. Let's just get the tank rag, just wipe my fingerprints off it. As we run along here, I don't know if you can see a difference between that and the top of the door. That's why I'm not happy with it. I don't know what went wrong. This is the old gun. That's the new gun. I just think the paint went on very dry. And by the time I polished it all out, there ain't going to be a lot of paint left on it. So, there's a plan for that. Top of the door, really delighted with. Middle of the door, really delighted with. Bottom of the door, really delighted with. And I'm just going to move on to the front wing. And this is straight out of the gun on this at the moment, but it will come back looking as nice as the door does. I need to do screen pillar and B pillar. I might need to put, like I say, coat of paint on that at the same time as I'm doing the top of this wing. And then I've been outside doing the tailgate. So tailgate, it had a coat of primer on it just about lunchtime, and that's gone off nicely. And I'll just flat this back, dry sand it, because the primer, it will soak up moisture. I know it's a 2-pack primer, soaks up moisture, and I don't want any moisture in it. So it's a filler primer, and I know people are going to ask me what I use. So I'll go in and do it, show you. And I'm going to polish this side in a minute as well. That's what I use. And today's hardener is a fast hardener, because I use that with the primer. Depending on how warm it is, depends on whether I use the standard hardener on the top coat or not. Top coat's more likely to have a little bit of thinners in it. Primer, I'll throw it on with a shovel, because I can be quite ruthless. This is a 400 grit paper, dry sanding, and it comes back beautiful. Just gone through, and a couple of high pots down here. I'm not going to worry too much about it. Oh, there might be low spots there, because I'll just put a rattle can of paint along the bottom edge there. And that'll be ready for top coat tomorrow. Happy enough. Fun and games, eh? Fun and games. Don't ask me to paint your car. I hate painting cars. I really do. It's so time consuming. So time consuming. But when you get to this point and you're polishing, that's fun. Back wing is back in paint. So I flashed it right back with something like a 600 grit. Took everything out. That's straight out of the gun, so that won't polishing tomorrow once the paint's gone off. Happy enough with that. And then I put the first coat on the tailgate. I want this to go off, and I want to flat this back before this goes any further. It's not bad. It's gone on a bit on the dry side, I'll be honest. I think part of the problem here was it's out here, it's nearly 30 degrees, and I'm putting top coat on it. So with that on the car, I should polish that, put it back on the car, and then paint it on the car, because then we end up with a nice vertical panel. In here you can see the difference. I painted that at the same time as I painted the tailgate. Paint's gone on that fine, not gone on the tailgate. So there's another learning exercise for me. Yes, I think. Just before the end credits, give me a thumbs up if you liked that. Give me a thumbs down if you didn't. Mind you, you've got all the way to the end of it, so you probably would have given me a thumbs down by now anyway. Comments down below. All of these things do help to promote the work that I do and promote to YouTube for your benefit. If you want to contact me, churchhouseclassics, it's all one word, @gmail.com. And if you want to support the channel, then there's a PayPal me link scrolling down here. Both my email and the PayPal me link are in the description below this video. And that's my car, still sitting here. I might have to change this feature once it gets back on the road. It'll embarrass me enough into getting this back on the road. Anyway, thank you very much for watching.